this time.
It's good to meet you, Haye.
Good to meet you too. How are you?
You weren't on the show last time with Haye DeMarco?
I don't know.
So. I think I've been on the show twice or 3 times, but it's been a while.
Hey, I take that back. Yeah. It's not good to meet you now. See,
DeMarco has
Thanks for today.
Mute your other screen, everybody.
I don't have another screen. I don't know where it's coming from tonight.
It's off.
It was me. I just
okay.
It.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm on the laptop, so I don't have enough room for 2 screens.
Hey,
Sammy.
There you go. Teach him young.
He loves his daddy.
Okay. Here we go, everybody. Get ready. We're gonna count it in here.
Check making to the driver cover.
That echo's coming from.
Oh, I didn't hear an echo, Rob.
I didn't hear.
Welcome to Drone Nation, everybody. Ron, I'm not sure if we lost Ron or not.
There he is.
I've got all sorts of audio problems here. I'm picking up.
Okay.
Am I?
Yeah, you're good, Ron.
You're there.
Good.
Yeah,
we can hear
I'm hearing myself twice everything I say.
Oh.
Okay.
Get off the show, Ron. Get off.
Yeah.
Get off. We don't need you.
Sorry, folks. Technical difficulties.
Hang on, Ron. Let me try this, okay?
I can't do anything because I keep hearing myself.
Oh.
How about now? Are you still getting the echoes?
Yeah, well, he dropped out. Anyway, welcome everybody to Drone Nation for today's the 10th of March. We are so pleased to have Haye Kesteloo with us today, and Lauren Donauer all the way from the Great White North, and of course everybody knows DeMarco. No, there really are no. There's no predictions for you tonight, is there, DeMarco?
No.
So DeMarco isn't making any football predictions. So Ron is back. Ron, we're not here.
It's on mute.
Yeah, he's muted.
No habla.
There he is.
I'm good now, right? I think my ear pods were messing me up, but they weren't messing me up until we went live. They were fine in the pre-show. But anyhow, folks, Marcus already started the show.
No. You got to do it, Ron. Come on, do it.
Okay,
3, 2, 1.
Okay, folks, welcome to Drone Nation for March 10th, 2025. A look back on Romeo Durscher tonight, a giant in the drone industry. And what you see our special guest already here, Haye Kesteloo from DroneXL.co, and also Lauren Donner from Canada join us in the join us in the group tonight, and it's going to be a little bit different of a show here. I'm sure we're going to talk about Romeo at the beginning of the show, and then maybe we could talk about some of the recent articles in DroneXL about the Mavic 4. Sound good, Haye?
Yeah, sounds very good.
Hey.
So last week, actually, when I was on Build the Drone Reviewer, Lauren let me know that Romeo had passed away, and we kind of talked about it a few minutes on Bill's show. Lauren and Haye actually know him, and they, I only know him just by following him through social media. But so I wanted to bring some people in here who could, kind of give more of a testament to a man who I'm going to pop your article up here in a second. I mean, what he did for Drones for Good, and search and rescue, fire, and all that. It's just amazing. Marcus, you wanted to make a point.
Well, I'm just saying that maybe we ought to have Haye just tell our audience a little bit about who Romeo, who he was, and why he was a giant in the industry.
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. I mean, I started with covering drone news on Drone DJ back in 2017, and the first time I met Romeo Durscher was early on in 2018. I think it was Into Drone the first time I met him. Honestly, initially I had no idea who he was, but of course every event I went to, I ran into him. And then I learned that there probably wasn't anybody else in the entire drone industry, as far as I know, that had this kind of a passion for drones, and specifically how you can use drones for good in terms of saving people's lives, keeping first responders safe. And he was relentlessly promoting the use of drones to fire departments, police departments, search and rescue. Recently, when I wrote this article, I was looking at old photos I had from different trade shows. I also went to Romeo's Instagram account, and if you scroll back, you can see he met up with like search and rescue people and first responders pretty much all over the world. And I don't know of anybody else who has more passion for drones, specifically for how you can use them for good, than Romeo. And as far as I know, he was an awesome guy, super passionate, super approachable, always happy to talk, and yeah, talking about how we can use drones to keep people safe. And I think it's a tremendous loss for the drone community that we lost Romeo. So my condolences to everybody who knew him and his family, and it's sad.
Thank you.
In your article, I didn't realize that he worked at NASA at one time before he got interested in drones. And
he started in NASA in 1982, and he worked on the Solar Observatory satellite, and basically once that satellite was done, he was kind of pretty much done at NASA. Hey, do you know how Romeo got into drones?
No, not exactly, but I do know that I think it was called Aerial Visuals, that he started with somebody else early on in like 2010, 11. And
visual aerials, yeah,
visual aerials, and he was already like taking drones. Like if you go to his Instagram, you'll see like this picture of the Eiffel Tower, and he's like describing how they were flying drones back then, before there was any regulation that prohibited such drone flight. So he was early on, and I think he, for some reason, he understood how you could use drones for the greater good very early on in the game.
How he got into it was a friend of his who was doing accident reconstruction, and his friend invited him over one day, and Romeo walked into the apartment, and it was absolutely full of drone parts. And as Romeo described it, he said it looked like a bomb went off in there, and so his friend said, "We're going to build something out of here that's going to hold a camera for me, so that I can use it for the accident reconstruction," because he says renting a helicopter is way too expensive, So that's what got him into drones, and he said they tried several different cameras, including a cell phone, taking pictures, and there was no visual feedback or anything like that back in that day. But because of his stuff that kind of went out there is when DJI approached him to come work for them.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. About a year ago, I had a lunch meeting with somebody who retired from the New York Fire Department, and I had to explain to him what the benefits of drones were for people like him in his profession, being a fireman in New York. And he still argued against it, which in my mind, thinking of somebody like Romeo, is like at this day and age, how do you still not understand the value of drones? And I think this is probably what put Romeo apart, is that he already understood this probably back in like 2011 and 12, way before most people understood it. So that's,
He was always a big proponent of serving others, right?
Yeah.
And he's always there to help out, and that's how I actually got to know him. As I was telling you guys before the show, it was late 2017, early 2018. I was working on a Matrice 100 and trying to get an XT camera to work, and supposedly it should have worked, but it didn't. And he helped me troubleshoot it, and we got through that. And it turned out it was a bent pin on one of the connectors. But anyways, and we were in touch off and on for many years, and then we finally met up the first time, and this is the picture of the first time that I met up with him, and that was at CES 2020, and since then we've been in reasonably regular touch, and he helped me out when like I was working on doing training with Calgary TAC team with the city police TAC team, and as you well know, like Romeo was involved in that fairly heavily. So I picked his brain left, right, and center. And you want to know something? He did not mind giving you anything you wanted information-wise. You know, he wasn't like a lot of people that, you know, oh, this is my big, deep, dark secret. I'm not telling you anything. No, he shared, you know, so.
Yeah, my time of having probably the most frequent contact with Romeo was right before people like Romeo, Adam Lisberg, Brendan Schulman, Mario Rabello. Like for a while in like 2017, 18, 19, you had this whole American crew basically running DJI in America. He was part of that, and when that started to change, Romeo and I texted back and forth quite a bit about how DJI was changing as a company, how they weren't doing things the way they used to with like the product launch events and stuff. He cared a lot about people and the culture within DJI for sure.
I remember those conversations.
Yeah, yeah, I know you do.
that was not long after you and I first met.
No, true. It was, I don't know. I always think back of those days. I mean, not that it's that long ago, but at the same time, it's been a few years. So before COVID, to me, those were the fun times for sure. There was a lot going on. Drones were much more in the news, I think, in a good way than they are nowadays. Yeah, I miss those days.
Yeah.
Yep. But
yeah, you know, what a legacy of you know, teaching public entities how to use drones for good. Just purely coincidentally, I was out flying a drone at a local park today. City crew comes pulling up. They walk out into the middle of the park. They pull out a big Phantom 4 and they take off. They're mapping the parks, right? They wanted maps of their parks, and it's because of the kind of work that Romeo did that allowed that kind of thing to happen.
Yeah. I dug it up from earlier. I already showed you guys before we launched this. This was an interview with Romeo back in 2019 where he officially, or not officially, mentioned that the Phantom 4 was game over. And I happened to catch that. So we posted it back then on Drone DJ. And then I think a few weeks later, I met Romeo at one of the expos. And I was like, sorry, I know this wasn't an official announcement, but you said it. So we ran with it and ran an article, and he was all good about it. He was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said it, but it's the truth. The Phantom 4 is done, and it's all Mavic from here on out. And and now we know that indeed happened. Yeah.
Hey, folks, if anybody wants to read this article that I've been showing on the screen here, I got the link right in the show notes. You can go directly to the DroneXL article and read it in full. Hey, there's a part of there where you talk about in sometime in the late 2018 era that they had a wildfire someplace in California, and Romeo helped them after the fire was over, map the whole area, whatever. It's a very interesting section of the story.
Yeah, we had DJI Airworks in Los Angeles, and as part of that event, we went to, I don't know exactly what location it was, but it was a LA Fire Department location where they had a testing facility. And part of the story there was what Romeo presented was the Paradise fire and how they used drones to basically map out the area that was basically burned to the ground, and how they then overlaid that area or the aerial photos that they mapped with a Google Maps. So when you would, this was all for first responders, because when you would go into that neighborhood, there were no street signs, so you had no idea what streets you were on, what house you were looking at. And with the drone photos and Google Maps laid on top, they could actually help first responders, making sure that those guys knew where they were, but also make it available to the homeowners to be able to show okay, this is the state of your house right now. And as you can imagine, a lot of people who lived there were, of course, anxious to find out what the deal was. And and in what kind of condition their house was. And they mapped, I think it was like 17,000 acres, I think it was. It says in the article. But it was logistically, it was an entire process with like different drone crews, like different drones that they used, getting all the SD cards, processing all the photos, then mapping it all, stitching it all. And Romeo basically went into great detail explaining how they managed to do it. And it was, as far as I know, the first time that they actually mapped an area on that kind of a scale with that level of urgency, trying to make it all work. And they pulled it off, but it was crazy how much effort and time and work went into it. And I hope that since then they've been able, of course, to do this much faster, much better. But it was one of the first times that it happened on a fairly large scale, and it was urgent.
Right. So Romeo's kind of a visionary in this type of thing. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sure.
What you're seeing there is a Facebook group that Romeo had me start, and it was Drones for Good International.
Yeah.
You know, I started that because he kind of egged me on to do this, but I have since archived the group because there wasn't. We had great numbers, like there were 618 members, but unfortunately, I kept trying to get people to post stories of drones doing good, and I think Haye was probably one of the biggest contributors to that, but there wasn't enough people contributing, so I archived the group. So.
Yeah. What was his job at DJI?
He was the well, he had several different, but I believe the final one was called Senior Vice President of Public Safety Integration.
Yeah. I don't think they could have found a better person to do that job. I haven't seen anybody with more passion getting in front of groups of people, telling them why drones are such a game changer.
Marcus, you're muted.
My wife was in here. That's why I muted it. So she left, so I can say that now. So he's not the guy that was responsible for those geo zones, was he, Lauren?
No. Actually, that was Brendan Schulman.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then we'll let him off.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, I really got into it with Brendan Schulman one time, you know, because, you know, I said, like, your geozones don't match up with our regulations, right? And he was saying that, well, this was what was agreed upon at this meeting and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, who was there representing Canada? He says, well, nobody. I says, well, how the hell can you impose this on us when we didn't even have representation on it, you know? But anyway.
Yeah, and then they take geo's fencing away, and they're getting crap as well. Can't win.
No win situation, no doubt.
Nope.
Yeah. So, is there anybody around nowadays to fill the void that Romeo leaves behind in the drone industry?
Yes.
Driving kind of like, you know, safety and well, you know, drones for good, first responder, police, firemen, you know.
What the heck's his name? Baker.
Baker.
Yeah. Chief Baker. Yeah. Took over. Yeah. Fair. Yeah. He's carrying the torch right now.
He is. He absolutely is.
Yeah. Probably be a good idea to get him on the show one of these days. He might. He's pretty approachable as far as I know.
Yeah. You're right. He would be a good guy to get on.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think, as far as you know, drones, we'll say DJI drones in general, as far as, you know, doing work for, you know, fire, police, first responders, and all that, do you think they've kind of, like, they've reached a plateau where they kind of peaked? They can kind of do everything that's need to be done by those services now?
What do you mean in terms?
I mean, like, are we to the point where the drones are doing everything the police and fire require them to do now? It's not a lot of room to get better at this point, or?
I don't know. I mean, so one of the guys I work with, Mike from Drone Supremacy on YouTube, he tested the DJI, what is it, Matrice 4 thermal with AI. If you see how good that drone is and what it can do and how inexpensive it is, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
I mean, can you do better? Probably, but not by much, I think. I mean, that drone probably ticks pretty much all the boxes. So
right.
Nah.
But sometimes it's not about doing better. It's just doing what's required? You know what I mean? Like if it's doing the job, it doesn't really need to be better.
No, I think that drone is good enough for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
So really, in a way, Romeo's work is kind of done. He's got drones to the point where they can do all this important work for good at a level that almost meets what's required.
Yeah, you could argue that. I mean, at the same time, not every police department, not every fire department, not every first responder crew or search and rescue crew has access to these kind of drones. But if they did, would it make a difference? Yeah. And can you do much better with the drone? Not much. I think these drones nowadays are so good that they tick most of the boxes, if not all of the boxes, basically.
This was the final photo that Romeo sent me of his.
Wow, beautiful shot.
Wow. Yeah, look, I mean, obviously that was a long duration shot. You can tell by the yeah, that's very cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what drone that was, Lauren?
Not a clue. Not a clue.
It probably wasn't a Skydio, Ron.
Oh.
You think?
Well, but to the point, it was the drone was great at catching that image. He didn't need a better drone. The drone he had captured a wonderful image there.
Listen, I'm going to say this about that. Every time I think I have a drone that will do every possible thing that I want, DJI comes out with a new one, and I go, I gotta have that.
Hit that buy button.
And that the video and pictures just keep getting better and better to the point that it's almost 3-dimensional now.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Yeah, but I mean the improvements become like incremental, right? I mean,
very true. Yeah.
I mean, if you take even like the Mavic 2 Pro takes amazing photos, right? I mean, with that. Would you pick a Mavic 3? Sure, you would. Would you pick a Mavic 4 when it comes out? Of course you would. But at the same time, we've been at a really, really good level for quite some time, I feel, at this point.
Or how many people would know the difference between a Mavic 3 and a 2?
And especially when you look at those photos on your phone, right?
And on social media.
Yeah, which is 90% of how people consume media anyway.
Yeah.
So, no, I agree.
Yeah. I took my Mini 4 Pro with me when I went to Hawaii last summer, and it did everything that I needed it to do and took fabulous video and fabulous pictures. And I'm going, why do I need anything other than this? Well, of course you do. Of course I do, but you get my point. It is tremendous. The technology is tremendous.
I can tell in a way, like if I look at the traffic that different articles get, the mini series has blown me away. Like how many people are interested in like mini drones? It's unreal. Mini 4, Mini 3, Mini 5, hopefully coming soon. People are very interested in that, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that those drones are easier to fly. They're not as imposing. They're more like toys rather than, let's say, a Mavic 4. Regulation is easier.
Exactly.
They still take amazing photos.
Yeah. To me, I think a lot of it is the regulation thing.
Yeah.
Lauren, for the U.S. league, my argument is why the mini drones are so popular is the price. Before the Mini 1 came out, basically you were looking at upwards of $1,000 to get like a Mavic or even an Air Series, whatever. But when you got people at around a $400 price point, a lot of people, that wouldn't pay that $1,000 for a drone would pay that price.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you can see what DJI did, right? I mean, look at the Mavic Mini came out with, the Mini 2, Mini 2 SE, then the Mini 2, 4K, Mini 3, Mini 3 Pro, 4 Pro, 5 now, maybe soon. Then the Neo, the Flip, like they went all in on that category below 250.
Yeah. So, and basically dominated it.
Yeah, totally. 100%.
There may be a drone channel that I know of that's doing that kind of comparison soon in a video.
Will you let me know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I know the channel even.
What we have up on the screen now is another article in DroneXL showing probably one of the best looking photos we've seen of the rumored DJI Mavic 4 Pro drone with the arms folded up, and you get a really good look at it here. That's a great image.
Hey, I was just thinking, look how far we've come in these years that we've done this as a hobby. We used to say that the best drone under $400 or $500 was the dang, it just left me. Was the
the older you get, the more that happens to Marco.
Yeah, it's happened to me though. Like, you know what I'm talking about? What's the drone we all had? The Zeno.
The Zeno.
Yeah, now that's like no.
Well, remember, the Zeno predated all the mini drones and everything.
The thing that made it interesting is it was the first 4K drone at GPS, 3-axis stabilized drone at around $300. That was the whole point of that thing, and I'm glad it's behind us.
Yes.
Here's in the DroneXL article. Here's a little video here of a gentleman who appears to be flying the Mavic 4 with a controller we don't recognize and goggles hanging around his neck. And people speculate that maybe this drone will work with the goggles, and of course maybe a new version of the RC Pro. Hey, do you have any thoughts on any of this?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, the article is written by Jasper Ellens, who, as you probably know, is pretty knee deep into all the drone rumors and DJI leaks.
Good friend of the channel here, yes.
Yeah. And fortunately, he's from the Netherlands, and so am I. So we're like fellow Dutchmen, basically. And he teamed up again with DroneXL. So we're happy to be able to share all his leaks and rumors on our site.
That's excellent.
I think what's obvious with the Mavic 4 is the way that they've set up the camera and the gimbal gives you a lot more flexibility in how you can actually take shots and video footage at different angles, which might be useful for inspections, but also just useful in general, whether it's taking imagery for social media or just getting more creative with your shots. And I think what's interesting about the Mavic 4, it basically changed the entire design of the drone, where normally you'd have the camera and the gimbal with like at least some part of the drone hovering over it with obstacle avoidance sensors. That now has totally been redesigned. It seems that there might be a LiDAR sensor. I think it's on the right front arm. So out of the middle, like off center, basically, just to create a drone that has like the maximum flexibility in terms of the camera and the gimbal, which makes the design look very different. But yeah, I'm super curious to see how good this drone is going to be.
Here's what I'm hoping for with that. The way that gimbal is set up on the front of that thing, it's going to allow that drone to pitch a lot steeper.
Yeah, and rotate.
And that's true. I'm hoping for high speed is what I'm hoping for. I hope we have a 60-mile-an-hour camera drone.
I think there's a good chance you're going to get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that what I heard from Jasper is that apparently they're sending out, it's either going to be this week or next week that the first examples are going to be sent to the reviewers. If that's accurate, then I think April is probably the month that we're going to see this drone come to the market, which is probably a good thing. I mean, get them into the US before we have more tariffs and obstacles at customs.
I said that a couple of months ago to expect mid-April. So
mid-April, yeah, that's what I've heard. April 20th, I think it's a Sunday, so that'd be weird, but whatever. Like later on in April, apparently is the.
Well, we'll be home from the Florida meetup, so that's good timing.
There you go, and it'll be warm in New York by then, hopefully.
Jasper, I'm glad you brought. Jasper. Hi, I'm glad you brought that up about the issues of getting the DJI drones in the U.S. We've seen kind of slowdowns on the Air 3S. And the Neo recently, do you expect kind of stuck in customs issues and slowdowns with the Mavic 4 Pro release?
I'm not sure. I mean, when those first stories came out about drones being stuck in customs, I actually got a Air 3S and a Neo that I bought online from DJI to see what would happen. And both those drones came through customs without any hiccups whatsoever. So I'm not sure if it's related to where in the US these drones come in, whether it's East Coast or West Coast. but somehow it seems to differ based on where they come into the country. And to me, it feels that DJI has been rushing product releases early on in 2025 to get them in before tariffs kick in, before customs get more difficult. I don't know if it's true, but for sure it feels that way.
Do you think in the near future we expect to see the tariff pricing change on DJI's website, to see the prices go up an extra, like say 10%?
When they first did that, when we had the Trump administration, DJI was very hush-hush about it. They did change the prices, but Adam Lisberg wasn't really saying anything about it. I think it's probably going to be similar, that if they get hit by tariffs, they'll probably change their pricing, but they might wait with like a new product. So you really have no comparison what the price would have been otherwise. And I think they'll probably stay quiet about it. I don't know. I mean, their drones, for how good they are relatively inexpensive, I think you can say. So even if that same Mavic 4 was, let's say, $200 more, like there's still no other drone that you can buy at that price point that's going to be better anyway. So I don't know. We're going to end up paying it as consumers somehow, but hopefully it won't be too bad. I don't know.
Hey,
So I have not had any issues getting DJI drones either. Hey, but we do know a lot of other people in the community have, and I'm not sure why that is. And like you said, is it geographical or what? Second, I want to point out that friend of the channel, Bob Dempsey, Old Farts with Drones, is excited that this drone will be released on 420.
Oh,
420. There you go.
That's what he's saying. That's what Bob is saying.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think there's a little double meaning there, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
No, what worries me more is that what is it? If DJI drones aren't investigated or scrutinized within the next 12 months, they might end up on the covered list from the FCC. I think that's the biggest concern. And that concerns me more than tariffs and stuff. Like tariffs is like, okay, you pay more, but you still get an amazing drone. But if you can't fly them anymore, you can't get them anymore, that'd be a real concern.
yeah.
Well, that's when we're getting to be good friends with Lauren and make trips up to Canada.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a drug dealer, Lauren.
Yeah.
Drone dealer.
Hey, buddy, you want to buy a drone?
Well, let's look long term. Let's say the 12 months passes and come 2006, you cannot get a DJI drone in the U.S. What would the U.S. drone landscape look like for the next few years without DJI in the market?
Pretty barren.
I think it'd be terrible, to be honest. And I think the Russian invading Ukraine has shown that you need to have a domestic drone industry. Right. I mean, for the US to be able to stay up to date in terms of warfare and being able to defend yourself, you probably need to have a pretty decent drone production capacity. So promoting domestic drone production, I'm all for in that sense. If we ban DJI drones outright, I think the problem is going to be is we're not going to have an alternative for the foreseeable future. So that's going to mean that a lot of people, like a lot of police departments, fire departments, search and rescue teams, are not going to have the tools that they need to save people's lives or to keep their own people safe. And
that's not good.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem with if you rush a DJI drone ban, you're going to have a couple of years where you're not going to have enough equipment to do the work that you need to do. And I think that's the real problem. I don't see any of the American drone companies being able to supply drones that are capable, affordable, easy to fly, safe to fly, and that can do all the things we need them to do, and then to be able to produce thousands of them.
Yeah, and in the numbers that are needed,
Yeah, Skydio can do it. Brink Drones can do it. Like we had Blake Dresnick on the show with Pixel, and he's like, we need at least 3 years. If money is no obstacle, they still would need 3 years to be able to scale up to that kind of a level that DJI is at. And that's like the best scenario.
Scale up, and it wouldn't even be at that level. You know, they're just saying,
No, it wouldn't be. So, but when you listen to politicians like, oh, DJI drones are spying on us, we need to ban them, blah, 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 blah. It's like they have no idea what they're talking about. We're nowhere near being able to do what DJI does. And should we? Yeah, I think we should. But we don't have a company that can do it as of yet.
So you've seen the Mavic 4.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the Matrice 100 that I was talking about. And that's one of the early drones from DJI. And so it's come a long way. And that thing is big, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably 2.5 feet across from point to point. So
Nothing meany about that drone, is there?
No.
And that was an enterprise drone, Lauren?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually their very first enterprise drone.
Okay. And what year did that roughly come out?
2016 or 17.
Okay. Wow.
And 2018, the Matrice 200 came out finally. So.
No,
And
we've come a super long way.
Yeah. Well, it was a good price back then. It was only $3,500.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but that's the thing. If you look at a Mavic 4 thermal for that price point, try to find a competing drone.
Exactly
They
right.
don't exist.
Yeah.
They're either not at the same price point or they can't do what this drone can. And
I'm very fortunate in that I get to fly a lot of different brands of drones, and really they're virtually all Chinese drones. Yeah, I've got a Skydio behind me, but other than that, they're all Chinese drones. And nothing, you need to trust me on this, even my Autel drones back here, they don't come close to what we get from DJI. They just don't. The flight controls, the quality of the cameras, the reliability of the product, the features that they pack in there, there's nothing that's even in the same sphere. It's just not even close.
I fly mostly DJI drones, and I remember when the Autel Evo, 2 Pro came out with the 40+ minute battery capacity. I flew that drone, and I flew it over the Hudson River, and I flew back towards me, and had the wind in the back, so the drone came in pretty quick. And I wanted to slow down and brake, basically, and it just kind of kept going because it had so much inertia. And I was like, my DJI drones don't fly like that. Like when I want them to stop, they stop.
They stop.
Right? Yeah, and it's like all those little things. It's like that's why they're so damn good.
It all adds up, doesn't it? That's the point.
That's
it's that whole ecosystem. Yeah.
But if you talk to first responders, it's the same thing. Like give them a drone that does the job anytime. That's easy to fly. It's gonna be a DJI drone.
Right.
Hey, what was that one drone you were testing over the water? You and I were talking about. You were testing it over the water, and
what, the Mini?
Yeah, it was the Mini.
I think so. It could have been. I had the Mavic Mini when it was still called Mavic Mini.
I remember that video.
Yeah, I flew that across the Hudson River,
Yeah.
and it was close to what's the airport there? I forgot. There's an airport on the west side of the Hudson River, a little north of where I am. Anyway, I flew the drone over the river. I didn't get close enough to the airport to break any rules. Flew the drone back. Then, of course, as it flew back, it filmed me, so you could see me holding the remote controls. Sure enough, 2 days later, I got a phone call from the FAA, and they were like, "Oh, what's the story here? What were you doing? Blah blah blah." So somebody must have reported me. It was all fine. I didn't break any rules, or maybe a little, but nothing too dangerous, at least.
You bent a few, but didn't break them.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hard to know for sure if you could still see the Mavic at that distance, but it
you can see it. You can see it. Hey.
I had young eyes at the time. I could totally see it.
I had that same conversation with this city crew that was mapping this park I was at today.
Yeah.
And they had a Phantom 4, and it was an operator and a VO, and you know, he had the drone way out there, and I talked to the VO. I said, "Can you see that?" Oh yeah. I'm going, yeah. Okay.
Here's
yeah.
The best one, I think, is Billy Kyle on the Salt Flats with Kyle Norforth, and they were like driving.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, that was smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This little picture here on DroneXL, this is all weekend. All we saw was these shells that Mavic 4 all over the internet. A lot of shells.
Yeah, as far as I know, the two people that are most active in finding these kind of leaks is either Igor Bogdanov, the Russian guy, and Jasper Ellens. They seem to be the most plugged in. They're in social media in China. They find all these leaks. Apparently, images of Mavic 4 shells are all over the place. That's fine, like whatever. I care more about the specs, the features, like what is this drone going to do that the Mavic 3 doesn't do, because the Mavic 3 is pretty darn good.
It is.
Yeah, so I'm still curious. And I'm also curious to see what kind of price point we're going to be dealing with, especially if tariffs kick in. Because I don't know, for most, I mean, if you already have an Air 3S or a Mavic 3 Pro, are you going to have to upgrade? Like, probably not, to be honest. Like, I don't know.
So here's the argument that I have made for a while now, and I can't take credit for it. My friend Mike Wright came up with it. He said, you know what? He said, I'm buying that Mavic 4 no matter what, because it may be the last time that I'm able to buy a prosumer drone of that quality in the United States. And that's hard to argue with.
Yeah, that's sad, but might be true.
Here's a spec leak here on this article here about the 240 watt charger. Tell us a little bit about that. Haye, the 240 watt charger. We've never seen anything like that before on the consumer drones from DJI.
Yeah, I mean, DJI Mavic 4 Pro, is that still a consumer drone? I guess you can argue. I mean,
I'd call it a prosumer.
Yeah. But if you start using it as such, you probably want to be able to charge batteries really, really quickly, swap them out really, really quickly. I know, what was it, with the Matrice series, you could swap out batteries and still keep the drone live, so you can kind of swap them out quickly. I don't know if they would introduce something like that with the Mavic 4 Pro. I'm not saying that they are, but if they did, I mean, it'd be huge, I think.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people speculate that that charger could, if you came with the charging hub, it could charge all the batteries at the same time, which people have been asking for years from DJI.
Yeah, it'd be huge. I mean, if you want to keep flying, you need batteries, right? I mean, so being able to charge them quickly.
All my chargers will charge simultaneously.
Concurrently,
but they're aftermarket.
Also, if you fly drones professionally and you need to be able to fly that much, you'd probably have 2 drones to begin with for sure. You'd probably have a whole bunch of batteries. Like, you wouldn't run out of batteries, right? I mean, if you're doing it for a living, I mean, if you're a wedding photographer, you have 2 cameras. You need to have a backup. And I think for most people flying drones, if you do it commercially, you'd have a backup drone and you'd have more batteries.
That's going to be the scary thing, because what if you do this professionally and you do have a backup, and then one goes down and crashes, whatever happens, and then you can't get another backup? That's
already happening, DeMarco. That is already happening today.
I'm worried about it. You know?
No, I mean, I'm
deal.
not sure if a lot of politicians realize this, but if you ban DJI drones, not only are you hurting fire departments, police departments, search and rescue, you're also hurting a lot of small businesses and drone service providers. So there is not a replacement currently, and that's a problem.
And that's the thing. People have to tell their local politicians that what you said, it's going to hurt small business and people just trying to make a living. It's not only going to hurt first responders; it's going to hurt the little guy. Yeah,
a lot of them. And I've never really heard a good answer from any politician as to how they would address that. Like, I mean, back in, what was it, the 70s with Honda and Toyota, they were forced to build plants in the US. I don't know if they've ever suggested something like that to DJI. I know DJI in the past had plans to set up a US factory. Maybe that will be a solution. I don't know. But if we want to have a domestic drone industry or drone production capacity, we got to do something, because right now it's not happening, I think.
And
wouldn't that be great if DJI built a plant here? That'd be so cool.
I think so.
Isn't that what they're trying to get done with the tariffs, to have manufacturing move to the U.S.? So if DJI would do that, you'd think it would.
I don't think they know, Ron.
From day to day.
My money is on Stefanik, right? I don't know. I haven't heard a single plan as to how we can create a US-based drone industry at scale that would match DJI. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything tougher. I mean, like, there's, like we just talked, they're so far ahead of the competition. How can you go from, that would be expecting you to any industry. How can you go from nothing to knocking out the top guy in just a few years?
You can't.
The thing being is it could be coming. Like Taiwan Semiconductor is building a new plant in the United States.
Phoenix, yeah.
And if they once that gets done, because that's probably the biggest thing that holds the U.S. back from doing stuff like that, is they gave up their semiconductor industry a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you look at Skydio, they have an issue with their batteries, right, coming out of China. So they have an issue with their supply. I mean, the only example I can come up with that's a success story is basically Elon Musk and Tesla. Like starting an American-based car manufacturing company that competes and outperforms other car companies in the United States. That's the only example of a story that I would want something like that to happen in the drone industry.
But again,
how long did that take, though?
He's building his own chips too, though.
Yeah.
But
that took what, 13 years, 14 years? I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Our current drones are gonna have to fly a long time before 13 years kick in.
Oh, better get some extra batteries for the Mavic 4, right?
and props.
Well, and buy them when you purchase that drone. Buy those extra batteries right then. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if the US was serious about starting a drone industry in the United States where we produce drones, they'd have to do something because it's not happening automatically. I don't see it happening anymore.
I'm sorry. I was going to say they won't. The powers that be won't do anything until their lives are affected by it. Until they actually see, they're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not worried about the batteries so much because the aftermarket batteries that I use, like I use Power Extra brand. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but I buy them on Amazon, and I've had absolutely zero issues with those. Any firmware updates, they go in, no issues, nothing.
Wow. And how much more or how much less expensive are those?
They're about 60% of the cost of the original batteries.
Oh, wow. That makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Bill Grace makes a good comment in the chat here. Tesla only works by borrowing the Chinese electric vehicles, which are better than what we have.
I don't know if they're better, but they're getting better.
I don't know, Marcus. That BYD is killing it.
Yeah, they are.
Man.
Yeah, it's not easy to compete with China.
Yeah. And cheaper, better and cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, and no doubt, I think the Chinese government helps Chinese companies. Whether
that's the point, isn't it? That's
the point that lawmakers are making. They say that they financially prop DJI up so they can undersell everybody else.
Yeah, but we can do that, right? We can do tax breaks and give people property they can build the plants and
Look at Boeing, Ron.
Right? Well, yeah. They don't get any help from the government.
Yeah. No, it's interesting times for sure.
How about switching off of DJI for a second? We always get killed from talking about DJI too much. Have you been hearing anything about the V-copter? Zero Robotics V-copter. It came out about 4 years ago in an over 250 gram version, but now it looks like it's about to be released in a mini version under 250 grams. Yep. And we talked about the success of mini drones. Do you think the V-copter has a place in this market today?
You know what, like Lawrence says, I know nothing. I know nothing.
I may have to use that line.
Okay.
I've seen the smaller V-copter. I haven't looked into it because I simply haven't had the time. Like there's too much drone news to stay on top of. I've seen it. I'm curious. If I remember correctly, I think the reviews of the original weren't all that great. I think it's hard to be able to accurately and precisely maneuver a drone if you only have two props. But hey, I mean, good for them for trying for sure, and I'd be happy to look into it. Yeah.
Well, we can tell you, a friend of ours, he's probably in the chat, Johnny Drone Flyer. He bought the original V-copter, and it has no problems. It's flying wise, it flies great. It flies.
That's awesome.
I mean, he flies all the time. I've flown it twice, and it flies just as good as a DJI drone with only 2 arms on it. I mean, it's an amazing little flyer. The thing that held it back is it had its camera wasn't up to DJI quality back then.
Yeah. I mean, if you can make a drone fly as well as a DJI drone and you only use half the props, that's pretty impressive. Also, if that really works that well, I think DJI will probably copy that pretty soon.
Bingo. Right there.
Just like they did with the controller, right?
Yeah.
We'd
have seen a DJI V-copter a long time ago.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron.
Yes. I see it. I see it, Lauren. I got it.
Yeah. So there's a Power Extra battery for a Phantom 3.
Oh, wow.
Right? And that's on Amazon, right?
There you go.
So
yeah.
Hey, as long as we're talking about Phantoms, hey, is there any possibility ever that we'll see a Phantom 5?
No.
With interchangeable lenses? No. I'm still hoping for it. No, sir.
Okay. I got to ask.
That crew I saw, that city crew that I saw today out at the park, they were proud of their Phantom, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, it's still a workhorse drone. A lot of people doing mapping and things like that. It's still a workhorse for many folks.
They like that mechanical shutter. They do. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And also being able to just grab the drone out of the air.
Good point.
I've seen plenty of cases where that made a lot of sense.
Well, if you have any trouble hand catching, we have the man on the show here that gave a clinic on hand catching last year at the South Florida Drone Meetup, and a couple of different occasions. He taught a lot of folks how to do it.
I want to hear about that one.
We have it on video. I'll send you the video.
I know. I've seen it. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
No, it works. I've also seen people that strap like a grip on the Mavic, so when it comes in, you just grab it. Like, it works.
Oh. Just a handle on the bottom.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
Yeah, I've seen those too.
I have this thing you probably never heard of. It's called a landing pad. They usually cost about $10 or whatever, and I don't have to worry about the hand catching.
Yeah. Well, have you ever seen those videos on sailboats where they like do ocean races on sailboats and there's like 20, 30 miles an hour wind and they catch the drones? Like,
that would be the only way you could do that would be, like you said, a Phantom or something where you got something to grab onto. I don't know how you would.
Because you have all the rigging of the sails and like the backstays and
And how many of them do they lose that we don't see that video?
Yeah.
My knuckles are hurting just talking about this.
Yeah. Oof. No, I still think that's the amazing thing. I mean, apart from drones being able to save lives, which is arguably like the number one thing you can do with drones, but the kind of footage that you get with drones that we never saw before is still amazing. Still blows me away. You see like skiers jump or snowboarders and like the camera's right there and circles around them, or those sailboat races. Like the things that we can do with drones is still amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly what some of the long range FPV drones are doing now. They're getting shots that would just be, they would have been impossible just 3-4 years ago. Yeah.
We had an article on DroneXL where somebody with an FPV drone flies up the Matterhorn, and prior to that there was a Mavic 3 that flew up to the Mount Everest, so you get to see like the whole way up to the mountain. It's insane. It's insane.
Lauren, excuse me, Ron. Lauren, earlier today you had somebody posting in the Calgary Drone Group, a woman that posted a video that she took with a long-range FPV drone with a GoPro on top of it. She had the lighting just right. I wish I could remember her name, but she was a Calgary resident, and boy, it was just phenomenal. You just looked at it and you go, well, how else would you ever do that? You couldn't do it with a helicopter. You couldn't do it with any other kind of camera other than a camera on top of a drone.
Here you go, Ron.
Yeah, and I think also the fact that drones are so much more affordable, means that you can get these tools in the hands of many people, right? So talking about being at the right time, at the right location, getting some amazing shot with drones, that actually happens. People capture all kinds of amazing video. Here we go.
There you go.
Got it.
But no, to your point, hey, there are so many talented pilots out there. It just blows me away every time I look at YouTube to see professional level shots and talent of these people that they're just guys like us that just bought a drone, and they're out there flying, and it's revolutionized that as well.
Yeah, just this morning when I flew at the Hillsborough Lighthouse drone meetup, a lot of us, we're taking the shots. We raised the drone up. We flew out of a little park there, took the drone up, shot at the lighthouse. The sun was coming up, but when the sun was already up, I went around to the other side lighthouse on the ocean, shot back in, and that was a much better shot than any of the shots I got facing outwards. I could never ever get that shot from the other side of the lighthouse unless I was on side of the boat, and the boat would be bouncing. So I better have a real steady gimbal or something if I was getting it from the ground. So I mean that's a shot that you didn't get before drones.
Lauren's got that video up that I was talking about.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is a GoPro on top of an FPV drone.
Yeah.
Is that sunrise or sunset, Lauren?
Yep. No idea. I wasn't there.
If you read her description, she talked about how she had tried that shot many times and didn't get the timing right. And this particular time, she got the timing really well.
It's like,
There's.
Isn't that the story of drones to begin with? Like we have this flying camera and then people start to find all these different use cases for it. Remember like the Snotbot where they flew a Inspire through like the fume of, how do you say, like the spray from a whale when they exhale?
Yeah.
And they measure the health of a whale without ever getting anywhere near the animal.
Ever getting near it.
Yeah, I think if you make products like this that are affordable and you make enough of them to get them in the hands of different people, people are going to do stuff with it that you never even thought about.
Yeah, and we're kind of preaching to the choir here, obviously, because we're all enthusiasts. But pretty later on in the video, she goes right down the side of the mountain through one of the draws, and then turns around, and you get that shot again. It is phenomenal. Lauren, do you know what mountain range? This has got to be in the Rockies someplace, huh?
I have no idea where this is even. She's a brand new member that just joined today.
Oh wow.
Well, she is talented, I'll tell you that.
But
look at that.
Yeah, this is the part I was telling you about. Check this out.
The dive.
Yeah.
The FPV dive.
Yeah. It's just insane.
And what a thrill, right? When you have goggles on and you fly down.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Yeah.
Wow, it's awesome.
And look at this. This was so cool.
Yeah.
Get your shot right back at the mountain.
Folks, this is the way Marcus flies his Avata too.
I wish I had that kind of talent. I look at stuff like this and I just go, I am not worthy.
Yeah, but that's the cool thing with drones is that you make it affordable, you get it in people's hands, and they'll do amazing things.
Yeah.
That's it.
Because they just let people be creative.
Yeah, and people will do stuff that you never thought about. You can go like, oh, wow, I guess you can do this too. Like,
well, what drones have done for the film industry, and like relating to this type of video, what they've done for the film industry is just, head and shoulders compared to what they used to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So you brought it up, Lauren. How many times when you're watching a movie or a TV show do you look at something? Yeah, exactly. That's a drone.
All the time.
Yeah.
I watch that with my wife and I'll say drone shot, or whatever. And then you go back and watch an old movie. I don't have to be that old. Say you're watching a movie from the 1990s, early 2000s, anything. You have to go that far back and you see the aerial shot. And it's kind of like a not very steady shot from a helicopter or a plane. And then you watch a modern movie or TV show and that shot is perfect rather than being this kind of bouncy video.
Yeah. But they'll swoop in and stuff like that, and then directly follow the actor, right?
Right,
And
right,
it's
right.
like
It's
all of a
a
sudden you figure that normally that would be a dolly shot, right?
Yeah.
But they're just following with the drone.
But
Ron,
so
you're
also-
saying. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say to kind of get it back to Romeo Durscher. If you look at Drones for Good, and I've had on DroneXL and also on Drone DJ in the past, so many stories where there's like all these volunteers looking for an elderly person that's disappeared, or like a young child, and they've been searching for hours. And then somebody flies a drone, and within 2 minutes they find the child, or they find the puppy, or they find the elderly woman. Like there's so many cases where drones are like a total game changer. And I still don't get it when people are like, huh, what, drones? Isn't that like a toy? Like no.
Yeah.
Or they think you're spying on them or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, come on,
I've
man.
got about a half a dozen guys in my group that like volunteer, and by volunteer they're not charging. They've got thermal drones and they do pet searches.
Yeah. We have a guy upstate New York, a little further upstate in Westchester. He does the same thing. He finds dogs that have gone missing for 2 or 3 days. He finds them in no time because of a drone with a thermal camera.
Your turn, DeMarco.
No, I was just gonna say you were talking about movies, Ron, and I was watching a movie recently, Capricorn 1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, great movie.
A
Yeah.
lot of helicopters, though. But I was watching that, and I was almost getting sick because it was so much shaking going on. I was thinking the same thing you were thinking too.
Okay, you got to tell our audience about a little bit about Capricorn 1.
No. You could tell them.
Well, no. Go ahead. Just give them the once over. I mean, you can't.
Well, it was made in the mid 70s, late 70s, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's about they were going to send a crew to the moon, I think it was, and they found out at the last minute that the ship wouldn't make it or something. Marcus, no,
it was something broke. I don't remember exactly either.
So they faked the landing.
They faked it.
Wait. They faked the landing, and then the ship blew up, so they had to kill him.
Oh,
Yeah.
So it's a whole bunch of old guys in it. O.J. Simpson's in it. He's one of the guys, but like they're chasing them with helicopters. So it's a lot of helicopter shots in it. So
Yeah.
A lot of shaking up. Here we go.
a lot of shaking.
Here we go.
was that before you were born, DeMarco?
Yeah. You got to check it out.
Fake Moonlight. It's a good. It's a classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Capricorn 1. I'm definitely watching that.
There's Hal Holbrook. There's an old timer.
There's those choppers.
Oh.
Yeah. Tense instrumental music.
And he's hiding right in the dirt right there, actually. So
Yeah. It's been years since I've seen it. Yeah, we're all going to have to look that one up now.
Yeah. I'm ready to
Hey,
tonight.
for what it's worth, that's free on YouTube.
yay!
Okay.
Excellent.
Good. We won't get taken down then. Yeah.
That was before DeMarco was born.
Mhm. My dad liked it. I liked it too.
Your dad liked it. There you go. I like it.
Hey, it's his loss, Marcus. The 70s were a good time. I'll take the 70s.
I had fun.
Everybody likes the 70s.
I'll leave it there.
I don't remember much. I was too young.
Yeah, same with me. I was too young. I was
Yeah.
76
you know,
right here. So
Oh, back to drones for good, but the opposite of drones for good. This kind of old story has completely disappeared. But what did you make of the whole New Jersey drone? I'm going to call it craze of late August and December, whatever. I mean,
Well-
it's indescribable.
First of all, thank you for all the people that read all the articles, because that was pretty amazing. But secondly, maybe people should look up to the sky a little more often and look at like stars and helicopters and airplanes. Like, I think 90% of all that was, I mean, we've seen politicians that would like point at drones up in the sky and it was like a constellation. I'm like, come on, man.
Or clearly navigation lights on an
Yeah,
aircraft.
airplanes, helicopters, stars. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, sure, there's drones flying around, but I don't know. I think it's overhyped. People probably just don't look up enough and don't really know what they're looking at. And now people are saying, "Oh, drones." So it's like, "Oh, you look up and you see a light, must be a drone." It's spreading all over the country. It's not just New Jersey; it's in Ohio as well. Like, it's still happening. So
Why do you think that story caught such fire? I mean, how did such a little story turn into this
I don't know, but
national thing?
I don't have all the details anymore, but I read an article about, I think it was in the 60s or the 70s, where people discovered like little damage on their windshield of the car. And that became a whole story, that people discovered that their windshields of their vehicles weren't like all smooth, but they had little pits and little cracks in them. For sure, that was just from roads and like gravel and little stones that chipped your windscreen. But for a long time, that became this whole massive hype story, apparently, in the news. I think this is somewhat similar. Just people just don't look up, and all of a sudden, like, oh, I got to look up, and they see something, and like, oh, must be a drone.
Yeah, and
it's the same. It's the same with the drone incidents, where it's like, oh, airport, and there's a drone. It's either like a plastic bag, it's a balloon, it's a bird, it's all kinds of things, and then maybe it's a drone.
Yeah, of course, I live in New Jersey, and of
Yes.
course, I would purposely go out to try to see the drones, and I couldn't see anything. But just like you said, normal aircraft, because New Jersey has some of the most air traffic of any state flying over it, and of course, you know, a lot of us that did fly drones, we got scared to fly drones at night because we didn't want to like be the ones that, you know, on the news. So I purposely didn't do any. I usually fly around if I'm going to get the holiday lights, but I did not do it this year because of the drone craze. And we had a local politician in South Jersey who said to shoot them down or whatever. I mean, I've
seen videos where you would basically have like the Newark Airport, and you see like airplanes coming in. There's like 30 seconds or 60 seconds in between. You see like 4 or 5 lights lining up, and people are like, "Oh, they're drones. They're coming to us." I'm like, "Come on, man."
Yeah.
Like, really?
They're SUV-sized drones.
With big wings and like hundreds of people inside. Okay, cool.
That didn't do us any good as hobbies or enterprise. That story didn't do the drone community any good at all.
No, it doesn't. No, but the same is true with the war in Ukraine, right? I mean, it doesn't really. It helps in a way that people start to understand what drones are and what drones can do, but there's a lot of negative news that doesn't necessarily help us at all. I mean, Billy Kyle made a video about the drones in New Jersey, saying, "Yeah, it doesn't help me doing business in New Jersey at all." So, I don't know. I mean, I think for us and for our audience, it's all bread and butter. But I think for the majority of the people, the regular folks out there, they may not know all the things we know, and they may not know drones and how they're used and all the things they're capable of. So clearly, there's still a big need for education, I guess.
Yeah. I do a little real estate work, and I had people call me up and ask me during that time, "Can you still fly your drone in New Jersey to get these real estate shots?" You know, so I mean, you know, I don't know if I lost any jobs, but people didn't know if I could do the jobs for them then.
Yeah, and then you get people shooting at drones. Like that's also a fun hobby, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, the politician said shoot them down. So
Are you kidding? The president said shoot him down. Yeah, I mean, geez, that was before he was president, but that's what he said about the New Jersey thing.
Yeah. No. I don't know. It's
insanity.
We're not done with educating people. That's obvious.
No.
With regard to the Ukraine war, I think one of the things that hurt us there is that they saw people using consumer grade drones to drop bombs. I mean, it's not like it was some military drone. It was a consumer drone.
It's this kind of drone, regular drone. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, modified.
Yeah, modified. I mean, barely almost, right? I mean, people that go fishing, people that use drones to go fishing, and where they like put the bait on the drone and they fly it out into the ocean and drop the bait. It's the same mechanism. You use the LED light, the beacon, or not the beacon, the landing light, and when it activates, it drops.
Okay, here's a big one right here. Captain Ray is exactly right. When you're out there with your drone and you have some interaction with the public, be an ambassador for the hobby. Show it to them. Show them what you can see on the screen. Talk about what you do with the drone and you know, the kind of things that you can accomplish with it for good and not focus on the other stuff. That's a great point.
When we were at the meetup this morning, you know, we were at sunrise, so there wasn't too many people around. But a lady came up and she was taking pictures of the sunrise with her phone, and we had a good conversation with her because as soon as she's a drone, she said, "Oh, you're professionals or whatever," and she, was a very good, she wasn't anti-drones or, she really was interested in what we were doing. We had a little conversation with her. So just like you're saying, kind of being ambassadors to the public, making sure we weren't, flying over her or taking off and landing when she was walking by, getting her photos. Just last week at Du Bois Park, one of our favorites. Lauren can tell everybody how scenic it is at Du Bois, but it was I was flying. It wasn't many people around. I was flying near like this little beach, and one of the pregnancy photographers came along. A woman taking a picture of the husband and the wife who's pregnant, and I saw him coming. I landed my drone and said, "Well, I'll get this drone down so I won't interfere with your, photography at all." And they were real, happy about him, whatever. Again, just being a good ambassador, getting out of the way of, a working professional out there trying to get some photos.
I think Rick Kelly is right. I mean, every time you fly a drone and you get a chance to inform somebody or educate them, I think that's a win for us. So I totally agree.
Yeah. And talk about flying responsibly at this lighthouse. It was in some kind of a restricted airspace, so a lot of us have got our like approval. A couple of guys flew under Al's like approval as a pilot and command type of situation. But it was 250 feet. We're going to go 250 feet. So we all. But I put it in my drone. I wouldn't go higher than that, and we all flew under the restrictions that we were given with the length approval waiver.
Actually, I'm glad you brought this up because it reminds me of something else. If you were to ban DJI drones outright in the US, you're also taking away, and we've already kind of done that with remote ID to an extent, but you're taking away the opportunity for young people to get into the aviation hobby, right? Whether you start with RC model airplanes or you start with little drones, but if 1,000 kids starts with drones, some of them are going to make it into aviation and they're going to make it their career. And I think if you take that hobby away from young people, then you also hurt your own future as a country in terms of people being able to progress into aviation and make it a career.
Yeah,
good point.
So, hey, you mentioned remote ID. My feeling about that is it was just not even anything that's affected me in the slightest, because it hasn't changed the way I fly, hasn't changed anything. Okay, so my drone is transmitting remote ID. Okay, Yeah.
No, I mean, so far so good, right? I mean, we haven't heard of anybody who was robbed of all their expensive drone equipment because somebody was able to pinpoint their location, which is something that a lot of us were worried about. No, you're right. I think drone ID so far hasn't hurt the hobby in any big way. It hasn't made it easier either, but I understand that as a government, you probably want to be able to identify drones and find out who's flying a drone somewhere so you can take action if you have to. I mean, we've seen plenty of people flying drones over stadiums, which is not a great idea at all. So I understand where they come from. I'm glad that I guess DJI picked it up really well and made their drones remote ID compliant in a way that doesn't really involve you as a consumer. It also opened the door for 250 gram and lower drones, which,
it cracks me up. Things like the little Neo, though. I have yet to see somebody put a remote ID module on a Neo. But really, it's common sense, right? The thing is only flying 15, 20 feet off the ground at the most, and it's not the same kind of ballpark as a drone that can go way out there.
No, and I think I agree. I mean, that's also something people need to realize is that the small drones, like the damage they can do is very limited, I think.
Limited, yeah.
Well, case in point, sub 250 that hit the water bomber, right?
Yeah.
The pilot did not even know that he had been hit by anything until he landed and the maintenance crew pointed it out to him.
Yeah. I thought you meant the pilot of the drone. I'm going, oh, I think he knew.
What happened to my signal?
Yeah, he must have been sweating it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, but maybe in that sense, it's good that the more capable drones are maybe too expensive for most people, so that the people that want to fly drones, they gravitate towards the sub 250 category. Makes it a lot safer. If anything goes wrong, those drones are lightweight, they're small, the damage is limited. If we all fly in Spires, it'd be a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, true. What do you think of the impact of but Marcus mentioned that even less than 250 gram drones like the Neo, the Flip, the hover drones, and whatever? Are they making a big impact? Are they here to stay, or is that just kind of a fad?
No, I think they're very much here to stay. I mean, if I look at the articles that we publish on DroneXL and the traffic we get, there's a lot of enthusiasm for the 250 gram category or sub 250 category. Yeah. I think also if you look at DJI, like the products they launched, like how many Inspires have we seen over the years versus how many variations of small drones have we seen? Like their focus is on small drones too, and I bet you it's for a good reason. I mean, maybe you make less per drone, but if you sell 10 times more or 100 times more.
And Ron, just let's think about kind of the same thing with the Mavic line. The Mavic 3, when was that introduced? At the end of, was it 2020 or 21?
21, right?
21, yeah. So now we're 3.5 years in before we're getting a successor to that. You know, I mean, they updated it with the Pro and all that, but
same aircraft basically.
Yeah. What shows you when they knock it out, when they make a product as good as the Mavic 3 is not really any rush, because that product was so ahead of its time when it came out or whatever, that it dominated the market for a long time.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say same thing with the Mavic 2, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They had a great run too. Yeah. Yeah.
You almost have to give credit to DJI in a way, but they cannibalize their own product lines, right? Because it's not driven by any real competition. They're just competing with their own products at this point.
Their own stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Really. Like who's competing with a Mavic 3 Pro? Like nobody really. So why do you have to come out with a Mavic 4?
Yeah.
Right.
And they still do it. And if you look at the update frequency, like take the Inspire, like we've had 3 Inspires over 10 plus years. Yeah. Look at the Mini series, like how frequently they update the Mini. And then if you include things like the Neo and the Flip as variations of the Mini, like it's obvious where the market's where the biggest market is. Sure.
It's not just that, and I won't discuss it here, but maybe after the show if you stick around, Haye. But hey, you know the reason for that too. There was one person that came to the company.
It was one person that came to
the company.
Yeah.
That to me, that's why we're getting the such a fast push. You know.
Yeah, but I mean. I wish there was more competition. I wish there was more competition.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
we've all been saying that for years.
Yeah, and there still isn't.
Yeah.
So Sony tried, they didn't make it. GoPro tried, they didn't make it. Like, I don't know.
I mean, Telmed became the closest, but they didn't quite get there either. Yeah.
No, they never leapfrogged DJI. They were always catching up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know. It's I don't know why it's so hard, but apparently it is.
So I guess in the US, they think we're going to somehow, these new US companies are going to just come out of nowhere and take the industry over.
I mean, if it was that easy, then Brink and Teal and Skydio, they wouldn't be focusing on the defense market, right? They'd be focusing on the consumer market, but they don't. They all turned away.
Right.
It's too hard.
Yeah, and we know that the consumer markets, you can make money in it in different other categories. I mean, I don't know, but Apple, they make high end computers, but they sell more MacBooks and iMacs than they do the high end stuff. There's money to be made at the low end to the consumers.
Yeah, and that's a good analogy, because that's exactly what you see DJI doing.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you have the high end stuff, but you also sell a lot of units at the low end of the market.
Yeah, and if you look at a DJI Flip, like how easy is that to fly, and all the stuff it basically does by itself. Like you don't need to be a proficient drone pilot to be able to enjoy that.
Right. And these products are kind of the gateway drug. You get hooked on the Flips and the Minis and whatever, and then maybe you're buying an Air or a Mavic or an Inspire. So you start them out just like the car companies do. That the first time car buyers would come in buy the economy car, But when they get a little bit older, have a little bit better job, then they buy the luxury, the more expensive.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And I think that's something that I haven't really heard in any of the politicians' speeches. Is like, if you take away that gateway drug, then how are you going to get people into aviation if they can't start at like at a baby level, let's say?
Yeah, like if an American company came out and they sold like a $20,000 enterprise drone, that's, you can't be a beginner. You already have to be an advanced user to step into that thing. It's no place to get started.
Yeah,
flight school is awful rich.
You remember how much hope we had when Skydio first started making consumer drones?
Oh yeah,
it was such a hopeful time, and I thought, gosh, finally we're going to have a homegrown drone industry. And boy, did they turn their back on us fast, man.
I met them in New Jersey in, what was it, like early 2018. I had actually one of the R1 drones that they came out with initially. And I was like, holy shit, these guys, this is amazing. This drone does all kinds of stuff that no DJI drone does.
Right.
And then we had the Skydio 2, and then people had to wait for a year for the drones, and then they turned to the defense market.
Yeah.
All right.
With
and of course,
you
get that drone with the high hook, the Skydio 1, and then you have it a little while and you realize, well, outside tracking, following and tracking and avoiding stuff, it's really not that good of a drone, except for, it's real good at what it does, but all around it was kind of not in comparison with our DJI.
It was one trick pony.
Trick pony. There you go.
What killed them probably, or made them change their mind, was probably service. Customer service. They didn't put money toward that, and people had problems, and they just probably said, you know what?
I need to correct you, DeMarco. What it was investors. Investors going for the deep pockets. That's what it was.
They want a return. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot, and I do mean a lot more money to be made in enterprise drones than there is in the consumer ones.
They discovered the subscription model, right? You don't just buy a Skydio enterprise drone, you subscribe. And it's a continual revenue stream for Skydio.
We legislate the competition out of our markets.
Yeah, there you go.
Free markets, capitalism.
And you want to know something? I don't think it's going to be that overly long when the consumer or the customers of enterprise drones realizes that this subscription model just doesn't work.
They already know it, I think, Lauren. I wish I knew the answer to that, because when we were in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Drone Meetup, the Las Vegas police came and gave us a really cool demonstration, but they had a big Skydio drone. I just think I don't think they have any feedback into it, Lauren. I don't think there's enough muscle behind it. I wish that there was.
And I guess at the enterprise level, maybe they don't mind subscription, but consumers definitely don't like subscription.
It would not work, which is why they're not in the business.
But I mean, if you want to make the biggest positive impact possible with drones, you would want to have the most drones in the hands of people that can use them for good, for the lowest price possible, right? So that's all the volunteer fire departments, all the police departments, all the search and rescue crews. If a Skydio drone is like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times more expensive than a DJI drone, then you're not gonna get that. You're not gonna get that result. You're not gonna get that many drones in the hands of people.
Private equity doesn't care.
No, they don't. They don't care at all.
Private equity doesn't care, and that's the tragedy.
That's the problem. That's the problem, and they won't acknowledge it. And that's why a lot of people that I know, either law enforcement officials or search and rescue, they're pissed off at Skydio. Right. Exactly for this reason.
Yeah. I got to run, boys. I'm sorry.
All right, DeMarco. Have a good evening.
All right.
Good to see you again, Lauren.
Thank you, man.
Good night, Marco.
Good night, boys.
Good night.
Hey, before we wrap up the show, we've been on almost 90 minutes now. Marcus, could you tell us a little bit about the app update and the firm update for the DJI drones that changes the way kind of return or adds an extra option or shortcut to the return to home process in the Fly app?
Yeah, that's what's really cool about it. They didn't really add a feature. They just made it easier for you to use that feature.
Yeah.
So when you hit if you hit return to home in the app, and we always get those 2 buttons that says land in place or return to home. Below that, now you have an option to go into the screen where you can change the home point. So you can either change it to the controller, which is the one that probably makes the most sense 90% of the time, or you can move the map around just like you always were able to do, but it was buried in the settings a little bit. Move the map around and set a custom home point for it. And it just makes it a lot easier. Now, the thing that I discovered after I posted that video, I had a few comments. People were telling me that it didn't work on the DJI RC. So I checked that out. I still have a DJI RC back here, and I used it with the Mini 3, and I did all the updates. But for some reason, the DJI RC doesn't update to that 1.16.4 version of the Fly app that added that feature. So that's the only one I know that doesn't do it. Anything that you use with your phone or with, I can say, the RC2. I haven't tried it with the RC Pro yet, but I need to do that. But it is really cool. It's super easy to get.
RC or the RCN1?
No, the DJI RC, the original one with the screen.
Right.
Yeah. Now, if you had the RCN1, obviously you're using the Fly app on your phone, so it's going to have it. So
the original one, I think, runs on older software, right? Older Android software.
I'll tell you, hey, I got that thing out, and I was amazed at how sluggish it was. You get used to using the RC2 or the RC Pro. That thing, you hit the button and you wait. You hit. We forgot about, or at least I forgot about that. But and maybe that's the reason why. But you'd think just modifying the app, you wouldn't think would be. But anyway, so
yeah, but it's kind of the same when they moved from what is it, like the DJI 4 Go, whatever that was called, the app they used, and then they went to the Fly. And people were all upset. And DJI was like, "Yeah, we're not going back." It's like the same with the Phantom. Like people hated to see the Phantom go, but then at the same time, it's like there's no going back.
Well, there was the DJI Go and then the Go 4.
Yeah,
Go Fly.
Yeah, but the Fly, I think the Fly was introduced with the Mavic Mini. That was
because it was so different. I think
there were a lot of things you didn't have available in the app. So people are like, I can change this, I can change that. Like initially it was very basic, but back then already they said that the Go 4 app was built on older software, that there was just no way forward. So they had to change to the Fly app.
Have you ever used DJI Pilot?
Sorry, DJI Pilot for commercial? No, I haven't. I've seen it, but I have never used it.
Lauren, we all agree you're way cooler than us.
Lauren has all the best toys.
No.
What else do you got, Lauren, in Canada?
Yeah, tell us. Come on, cut loose, buddy.
Well, let me dig in my drawer here.
Tom Downs, this is his DJI Crystal Sky Ultra Bright monitor.
The Crystal Sky was pretty cool in its day. Yeah.
I think it's just crazy to see how quickly all this technology just kept improving, right? Like you think you got a drone, it's amazing, and 2 years later, there's better stuff.
Exactly.
Actually, it's funny. I still have my Crystal Sky, and I use it whenever I'm flying my original Mavic.
Okay.
You still fly the original Mavic?
Mavic Pro.
I got it. That was my first drone that I bought.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's changed.
It has.
Well, before we wrap up, I want to do a promotion here. See, Ray Kelly's in here. We have the South Florida Drone Meetup coming up April 5th. Jenson Beach Causeway, Stuart, Florida. The first pilots will arrive at sunrise to get that sunrise going, and they'll go till late afternoon when Ray has a massive giveaway. I think they're giving away some Neos and a bunch of drones as usual, and other accessories and so on. So Ray's looking to almost 150 people coming this year. So I think this is the 5th one. So it doesn't cost anything. So even if you hurry about the day before, you can come for free, as long as you can get yourself there. If you live locally, it's gonna be no problem. But Lauren was there last time for the first time, and you had a good time, right, Lauren?
Absolutely. Yep.
And we all enjoyed having you there, and we go out Sunday to different flying venues, the next day too, and then they used to have a fishing trip on Monday. It's not happening this year, but so it's kind of 2 days worth of flying. Marcus, you attended all but the first one, right?
It's the first one, but I've been every year since, and I'll be there this year as well. So yeah, it's always fun. And the day of the event itself, honestly, you're not going to do that much flying, but what you're going to get is a lot of networking and camaraderie with like-minded people, and that's always one of the best parts of it. Lauren had his impromptu hand landing course the day of the event itself. But here's the thing, all kidding aside, he attracted a crowd because people wanted to know how to do it. And here's a guy that was able to show them very effectively how to do that. And that's what you get out of those kind of events.
Yeah, like I learned, like when Lauren was showing how when you get the drone in landing position and you hit the stick for it to come down, then you just let it come down on its own. You don't keep force it down. I didn't know that.
Put up on the stick, yeah.
Absolutely. Also, if you're doing South Florida, don't forget to hit Dubois Park.
Yeah, that's how I pronounce it too, Lauren. I know, but the locals say Du Bois.
Du Bois?
Yeah.
What do they know?
Yeah, well, that's the conundrum, isn't it? We know that the correct pronunciation is Dubois.
Lauren, I was just there last Monday and got some good shots. It's hard to miss at Du Bois Park. I mean, they're almost all great shots there because you have the ocean, the inlet, the lighthouse, all within
beautiful,
easy flying range.
Nice.
Palm trees and
beautiful girls.
Well, I don't know if we can say that on there. Beautiful. How about beautiful guys hanging around?
Well, you said palm trees, Ron. So I just
okay. Yeah. So anyway, I want to thank Haye and Lauren for coming on. Thanks for all the good kind of memories and look back at all Romeo Durscher has done for the drone community. As far as almost for most going back before most of us even knew much about drones, and that drone for good stuff. What can we do now without drones for the first responders, police, firemen, or whatever? So key to saving lives and everything. And I'm going to pop up a thing. Yeah, beautiful low light shot of the top of the lighthouse there. Beautiful, Lauren.
The Jupiter Lighthouse, and he flew from Du Bois Park.
Du Bois Park, yep.
Right.
Yep, at the end of Du Bois Park. So,
yeah, Romeo was well ahead of his time. He was way ahead of the curve.
Well, it's like I say, he was a superstar of the industry, and we wouldn't have our consumer drones that we do if it wasn't for things that he had pushed for at DJI.
Yeah, we'll miss him.
And thank you, Lauren, for coming on. Also, I know you had a personal relationship with him also. And I'm sorry I didn't get to meet him. I mean, he just is. It seemed like he was great. Didn't seem like he was a great man. He was a great man in the drone industry. So he will be missed. And any final thoughts, Haye, before you leave?
Okay. He helped us move forward in the FD&I. Thank you very much. He did. No, I mean, I'm glad I got to know him somewhat. I think he did amazing work. Like I said, he was ahead of the times, and we'll miss him. He went way too soon, for sure. So thank you guys for having me on the show.
Yeah, and we'd love to have you back after the Mavic 4 Pro comes out and give your thoughts once it's released and all the details. Would you like to come back and
of course I'll be here anytime. Just let me know, and I'll be happy to hop on a call. No, for sure.
Before we go, Ron, I've got a question for Lauren. Lauren, is there any drone news that you can tell us about right now? Any new releases? Anything that we'll keep it for ourselves?
Uh-oh.
Come on, Lauren. He knows he got something.
She goes, all right,
what's the stream?
And if you rate your prediction about the Mavic 4 Pro going out to testers, I can't say anything, but sometimes you see those test units at the South Florida Drone Meetup. Sometimes
it happened.
Sometimes you see them down there.
Yeah.
So, Haye, if you were really doing some investigative reporting, you could kind of maybe hide behind a tree at South Florida Drone Meetup. But
I'd be happy to come to Florida in the winter or early spring. New York is not that great a place when it's cold.
I can think of 2 different times when we saw things that we weren't supposed to see. Yeah.
Yeah, Ken Dono and Billy Cow, or
wow,
nothing.
I don't know those guys. Who are those guys?
Who are they?
Who are those guys?
myths. No, they're awesome.
I
want
to thank everybody in the chat who joined us tonight. Thanks for all the questions, comments, support. Of the show. You guys are great. And don't forget, I linked in. If you don't already subscribe to DroneXL or follow him on different medias like Facebook, Twitter, and he's probably on more places. I got the link to his page there. You can go subscribe there, whatever, and then go hit his social media links up or whatever. If you want to know what's going on in the drone news, definitely get his site, bookmarked or whatever. And, I'm sure they can leave comments and stuff on there to you. So, it's a great site. And now you got our good friend Jasper Ellens kind of, working for you over there, even the better. He's a great guy in the community, shares a lot of information with us. We post a bunch of this stuff. So yeah, it's all good.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it.
Okay, while we're at it, this guy right above me here carries a big torch up in Calgary too.
Yeah.
This is all kidding aside.
Yeah.
Lauren keeps that Calgary drone group going. He organizes flights for people. The educational work that he does alone, we were talking about bringing new people in. Lauren does a lot of teaching of new flyers and people just trying to figure out what's going on. So, thank you, Lauren.
And if the drones do get banned in the U.S., we're going to have to live vicariously through Lauren flying the DJI drones in Canada.
I'm moving up there. I already told Lauren to keep.
Lauren, you got a room for rent or anything up there?
Start like a little Airbnb drone.
Yeah.
Now we'll talk money.
You're not going to put a tariff on us, are you?
Just a small one.
Poquito.
We'll leave on that political comment. Good night.
Good night,
everybody.
See you in the next show. Next week, we'll be back. End stream.